Did you know that keeping records of a credit card is actually the same as keeping records of a bank account?
That's absolutely true. When you think about paying from a credit card, it's exactly the same as paying from your debit card when the money comes from your bank account. With both a debit card and a credit card, you pay the money to the financial institution, then pay from the card that the financial institution provides. The only difference is that with a bank account, you give the money to the financial institution before you pay from the account, and with a credit card, you give the money to the financial institution after you pay the charges. That's the only difference. So it would stand to reason that the record keeping of both types of accounts would be exactly the same. So it would also stand to reason that the place that we record the credit card transactions looks exactly the same as the place that we record our bank transactions. Even in the days before the computer, your grandmother would use one register book for her bank account and a separate register book for her credit card account. And the credit card register looked almost exactly the same as the bank register. In the old days, there were 2 lines for every one transaction, and every time you swiped a credit card to charge something, you would have to record in the register the when, the who, the why, and the how much money, and the reference number that went with the transaction, exactly the way that we have been doing when we have been recording bank transactions. It's exactly the same. The only difference is when you look at a credit card register, the names of some of the columns across the top are slightly different, but the idea is exactly the same. So let's open up the register window for Serina's credit card and take a quick look. We go Transactions, then go down to Chart of Accounts. Well, actually, it'd be a lot easier if you just click the accounts created by you, and we can get right to Serina's Visa. And we go all the way across, and we double-click View Register. Now notice this is a credit card register, so the names of the columns are slightly different. You still have date, reference number, type, payee, and account. But instead of deposit and check or payment, you have charge or payment. And obviously, if you're going to record a charge, you would put the money amount in this column, and if you're going to record a payment or a credit or a reduction to the credit card account, you would choose that column. And just like the bank register, the choice of what type of transaction happens right here in the top left. So let's go ahead and record Serina's first credit card charge. So let's imagine on February 14th of 2026, Serina charged $80 on her Visa credit card to such and such gaming store for entertainment expense. And the slip number that came from the slip out of the machine after she swiped the card was number 272727. So what will be the result in the trial balance at the moment Serina records this very first credit card charge? Well, we know that we have $80 more of entertainment expense. Whether we paid by bank account or credit card, we paid $80 more for $80 more of entertainment expense. So entertainment expense will increase. We also know that Serina's Visa card will show up for the very first time on the trial balance in the amount of $80 because this was her very first charge and very first transaction with the card. Let's take a look at how to record it. So here we are again in the credit card register, specifically for Serina's Visa card, and we want to choose the transaction type expense. Expense is the transaction type that you choose when you're charging on the credit card. Now, of course, we're going to put the date February 14th of 2026 in our little story. And we remember the reference number is 272727, whatever. And we know the type is expense and the payee was such and such game store. And notice, because we chose expense, only the charge column is available. You might also notice that QuickBooks Online automatically put entertainment expense because it remembers that such and such game store is associated with the entertainment expense account because you recorded them together in prior videos, in prior transactions. So you could still change it at the moment you record the transaction if in fact it is different. So be very careful, because most of the time the same vendor gives you the same service or product and it goes under the same expense, but not always. So be careful. But now that we have recorded every step, we're going to save this. So we now click Save. So now the credit card has a balance of $80, and let's take a look at the trial balance to see if the results are exactly what we expected. We click Reports, and we go over to Custom, and we can see the results are exactly as what we expected. We can see that Serina's Visa showed up for the first time as $80 because this is our first charge. But look closely at the entertainment expense account. When we double click to open it up, we notice that most of the other ones were expenses, but this one, this last transaction on February 14th, charged to such and such game store, was a credit card expense. And if we scroll over to the right, we can see the account and which account paid from it and the amount by scrolling from the bottom scroll bar left and right, back and forth. So the result is exactly as what we expected. So now let's try her second transaction. Let's imagine on February 16th of 2026, Serina charged $220 to Bonnie's Brass Knuckles Emporium for job supplies and just put it under supplies expense. And of course, they gave this reference number, and we would record this charge exactly the same way that we recorded the previous charge. But before we record the charge, let's think about what the results will be in the trial balance. We know that the balance of the credit card is going to increase by the $220 that we just charged. So when we open the trial balance after recording this charge, Serina's Visa should have a balance of $300. And we know that supplies expense should increase by $220 because we're putting this under supplies expense. So the result in supplies expense after she records this charge should be $520. So again, to record this in the proper register, we click Transactions, Chart of Accounts. It's a lot easier to see if we see only the accounts created by us. Serina's Visa is right there. View the register. And again, this is another credit card expense. So the reference number, I think, was 55443323, whatever. But the people whom we're paying for this particular transaction, gotta put the date at the beginning, because the date mistake is the worst kind to fix. So we go forward to February 16th, make sure we're in 2026 in our little story. We have the proper transaction type. We have the proper slip number that printed on the slip that came from the credit card, and the payee. Now, the payee in this case is Staples. We're putting it under supplies expense, SU. Just type in the first two letters and it will filter it, and we'll use the one that we created, supplies expense. And the amount of the charge in this case is $220. And again, to save one field but keep the transaction open, go to the left part of your keyboard and push tab. Now we have the when, the who, the why, the how much, and the proper reference number on the slip. So all we have to do is click save. And now let's check the results in the trial balance. We click reports, custom reports, trial balance. See, mine isn't set up. And you can see if we zoom in, the results are exactly as what we expected. You can see that Serina's Visa increased to $300 and supplies expense increased to $520. And the interesting part is if you double click the $520 and you go down, you see the last one was recorded, or second to last one, February 16th, recorded as a credit card expense with this slip number. And if you scroll to the right, you can see whom we charged, why we charged, and of course, which account the money was paid from to get the total of the supplies expense. So now we're going to make our first credit card payment. What do you think happens when you actually pay the credit card? Well, obviously, if you pay the credit card, the balance of the credit card account goes down. But guess what? If you're paying the money from your bank account, then the balance of your bank account will also decrease by the amount that you're paying. So let's look at a typical example. Let's imagine on February 18th, we paid Serina's credit card company, let's just call them Visa. We're going to pay them $200 on February 18th with check number 8. Now, there's a few things to discuss when we talk about what the result will be. First of all, when we go to record this in the register, this will be the first time that we will not be putting money in the charge column. We will instead be putting money in the payment column. In fact, we will only be able to put money in the payment column because we're going to choose that type of transaction when we first open the register. The only difference is there are two issues with two pieces of data regarding our first credit card payment. First, we don't have the payee on the list of vendors. We don't have Chase Visa as one of the vendors on the vendor list, so they're not going to come up on the pull-down menu when we click to put in the payee. What we're going to do is demonstrate how to add a list item, like the name of a customer or the name of a vendor or the name of an account. We're going to learn how to add a list item on the fly. And on the fly means you add the item at the moment you're recording the transaction. So that's how we're going to handle recording the payee. But what about the account? What about the field under payee where we have to choose the proper account in the chart of accounts? Well, if we're in the credit card register because we're making a credit card payment, what do you think the other account is that will change in addition to the credit card account? And as we said a moment ago, the other account involved in a credit card payment besides the credit card account is your bank account, the bank account that you're paying the money from. So that's the account you will put on the line when you record this $200 credit card payment with check number 8. So again, we open the register window by clicking Transactions, Chart of Accounts, only the ones created by you, and we go Serina's Visa, click View Register. Now there's already 2 charges in here with a balance of $300. Now the type of transaction, the type of transaction we're recording is a payment. It's a credit card credit, not a bill payment, a credit card credit. You see, a bill payment would be different. A bill payment would be paying another vendor bill like an expense. So you don't want to choose that one. You want to choose credit card credit. Anytime you're recording a transaction that reduces the balance, whether it be a payment to the credit card or some kind of refund or return, any transaction that lowers the balance, you make this choice in the register. And of course, the date in our example is February 18 of 2026 in our little story. The reference number is the number on the document. And in this case, the document is the check that we're giving them. So we're going to put check number 8 because that's the number on the check that we're giving them from our bank account. And we're going to choose a payee. Now, the credit card company is not yet on the list of payees. And the list of payees in QuickBooks Online is the list of vendors. So here's how to add Chase Visa, the company, as a vendor to the vendor list on the fly. Every time you click a pull-down list, the top choice will have a plus sign and say Add New. So if you click on it, you can just type in the name, Chase Visa Company. And when you click Save, you'll see that not only can we use it for this transaction, but if you go back to the vendor list, Chase Visa will be on the vendor list. Now, which account is the other account involved in the transaction if you pay from your bank account to your credit card company? And the other account that changes besides the credit card account is your bank account. So of course you could type in CH to get the Chase bank account and the amount of the payment. Notice you can only put the money in the payment column because of the type of transaction you chose. We're decreasing the balance by $200. So we have the reference number, the date, the vendor. The reason why we're paying is we're reducing the bank account to reduce the credit card account, and the money amount. Now when we click Save, we can check to see if the results in the trial balance are what we expected. We can click Reports, and I'm set up this time to go to the trial balance. And if I just scroll in a little, okay, we can see that Serina's Visa is now down to 100 from what it was a minute ago, 300. If you double click, you can see that these were the 2 charges and these were the expense accounts, and then this was the payment, and this was the payment account that the money came from. Scroll across and you can see it properly lowers the balance, transaction by transaction. And the more interesting thing is if you actually double click your Chase bank account, you can see it actually records into the Chase account that this was a credit card credit. In fact, you can even go Transactions, Chart of Accounts, and reopen the bank account register, and you'll see that the credit card charge that you recorded in the credit card register got automatically copied over to the bank register because you recorded it and you used the bank account. So anytime you use the bank account in any transaction window, QuickBooks Online will copy that transaction right into this bank account's register. In fact, if you wanted, you could even record check number 8 in the bank register and choose Serina's Visa as the account instead of recording it in the Visa register and choosing the Chase Bank as the account. The result will be the same, regardless of which register you record the transaction into. So now why don't you try these 3 transactions on your own? They're almost exactly the same transactions that we recorded together. Almost. You can see with this last one, you have to think a little bit yourself. So go ahead and record them. Then, after you unpause the video, take a look at the trial balance I'm about to show you, and that will have the correct results of all 3 of these transactions. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint. The 3rd transaction is not exactly the same as we did together. It's the same idea, but see if you can record it without me revealing the answer, and then after I show you the trial balance, I'll explain exactly how you were supposed to have recorded that 3rd transaction. And if you properly entered those 3 transactions by yourself, this is what the trial balance should look like when you finish. So now here is the final trial balance that you should have after recording the 3 transactions that you just did on your own. What about the return credit to the pet store? How did you record that one? Well, you know every other piece of information to record except one. The one piece of information I did not tell you was which account to put in the field of account when you're making a return. And most of you probably already knew the very simple rule. If this particular account is the account you chose when you charged, then if you're getting a refund or return for that charge, use the very same expense account. In this case, she was returning something that she had recorded as cat-related expenses. Therefore, if that was the expense that she recorded when she charged the transaction, if she's returning or getting some refund for that very same transaction, then that's the account that she chooses. And if you look at the trial balance and open it up, you can see that this transaction should lower that particular expense because it was a return or a refund. And that's how you record returns and refunds, credits and payments, credit card charges in QuickBooks Online.